It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. Welcome to the podcast where we discuss how to outmaneuver your opponents. I'm Faith, and I'm here with his Dudeness and Jrod. We are so back with more spoilers and a discussion on set 1 and 2 versus set 3. Jrod and his Dudeness, what have your guys' thoughts on the recent spoilers this week?
Well, I think we missed a great opportunity to be like, we're the podcast that has the high ground, since that's the title of the episode. But speaking of I have the high ground, it's a one-cost event, Vigilance Tactic. It's a rare, which is interesting. And it says, choose a friendly unit. Each enemy unit gets -4/-0 while attacking that unit this phase. I think this card probably sees some play for Premiere. I don't know if it's going to be that great of a draft card unless you have Obi-Wan Kenobi. That I think this card is probably pretty good in draft. And I think this card is pretty nutty for Twin Suns because that format is already pretty heavily incentivized to play Sentinels. So like on the turn where someone wants to end the game, if you play this on your Sentinel and they don't have a way to remove it, it basically makes you almost unattackable for that whole phase. And then if you have ways to heal your base, you're probably feeling pretty good about yourself and your opportunities to win that game. So yeah, I think this card's a pretty good card for all three formats and could have some really good potentials for Premiere, depending on all the Sentinels we get.
I also think the hyperspace version of this card is going to go hard, dude. I love the art on this card. I think he nailed it.
Yeah.
James Daly. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name there, but
it might be Daly. There's no I, so
I don't know, man. But he crushed it. I feel like I saw his name recently on something else too, but maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, I do think the card is cool and it excels when you put it on a Sentinel. Like that just seems a little disgusting, honestly. If they did that to me, I would just not attack into the Sentinel. It feels like just, hey, your units don't do anything this turn kind of a thing, which is super annoying. But, we'll see if it sees a lot of play. I hope it doesn't, because that sounds obnoxious. But, I guess we'll see.
Sounds bad for Dudeness' game plan.
This is where Saboteur is your best friend.
Yeah. I will say real quick that he also did the Clone Wars from set 3, the card. Okay. And card that you play a lot of, as we were talking about before the podcast, he also drew IG-11.
Got it.
And a couple others as well, but that was he did Palp Showcase.
I think it was from IG-11 because I've been playing that card a little bit recently.
So I think I am probably the least high on this card amongst the three of us. I'm not saying it's not good or it might not see play. I don't know if this is what I'm going to want to be doing. And it's probably because I don't like playing a more slow control game. I like playing a more mid-range deck. And even though maybe as others would disagree or think it's trash, which it probably is, when I play my Krennic, even I'm not trying to play control. I'm trying to do a little bit more mid-range kind of thing. So I don't think this card fits mine. Doesn't scratch my itch at all. But I do have a question for you. When you think of flavor, when you think of iconic status, when you think of art on the card, which card hits more of that Star Wars fanboy for you? I Am Your Father or this card?
I Am Your Father. That's not even that close for me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say though that the art on I Have the High Ground is better. And so that might, because I really think this card in hyperspace is going to go really hard. I'm going to have to get a 1.
I'm going to be a little biased here because I did a lot of learn to plays in the beginning, as I've mentioned like 1,000 times in this podcast. So hearing everyone go, no, like doing learn to plays was like, just like an amazing, oh yeah, like they're in, they love this game. It's already like, you know what I mean? So I think that was a very good job for the designers to put that in like the starter decks and have that like interaction there.
Hard to disagree.
So that's why I give that one the nod. See, I thought. Okay, sorry, just ahead.
I just want to move on to the next card, unless you had something else to add.
Oh, I thought he was just going to compare to I Have the High Ground and on top of things, but that's all I was going to say. Go ahead.
Now I want to talk about Count Dooku, the green villainy leader that deploys at 7. He's a 5/9, 4 Separatist Sith. His leader side says that you may tap an action and then play a Separatist card from your hand. It gains exploit 1. So you can sack a unit to make it cost 2 less. Ideally, these are going to be a battle droid you have laying around, or maybe some other unit that you want to actually just die, and then maybe that makes another battle droid. And then on attack, the next Separatist card that you play this phase gains exploit 3 when he deploys, right? This guy seems really cool. The ability to sack all your droids, having a sack outlet to trigger to play bigger cards. It just seems he's going to be great in draft for sure because he's common. All the leaders spoiled up to this point are common too. He's common. He's going to be fun in draft. And he might even be good enough to see Premiere. I don't know, but I kind of hope so because I want to make a Dooku deck. I'll be straight up.
So I think I'm personally really excited for this card. And I think like looking at the cards that we have for Separatists so far, we did get spoiled an important card for Dooku. It goes really well with him as ship. But the other Separatist card that we do have is Gore. And I think there is a world in which I don't think it's too unreasonable where you could, with Count Dooku, get Gore out on turn 3, which is insane. If you play like anything turn 1 to the ground, if you're playing a double green Dooku deck, I should clarify. If you play anything on the ground and your opponent goes space, which isn't an unreal ask, I think, and then you can play the manufactured soldiers, make the 3 droid tokens, and now you've got 4 units on the ground. Gore has exploit 3 already built on him, and then Dooku can give him an additional exploit 1, reducing that 12 cost down, if you sack all 4 of those units, down to 4 resources with the exploit 4. So from 12 to 4, and then turn 3 you're playing Gore, which seems really good.
And then your opponent plays Soul the Dragon.
Yeah, potentially.
And
I used to Doomblade.
So, like, yeah, nice Gore you got there, nerd.
Sure, you did hit their life most likely because they do a 7/7 overwhelming something, ambush overwhelming something that they had. So I think I'm fine with that.
Imagine giving Gore the high ground.
But at least to put pressure on your opponent. So I think that we already have some big bombs for Dooku to reduce.
Dooku's cool. We even just got a new card today as we're recording this, the Confederate Courier, a 2-drop space unit in green villainy, a 2/1 separatist fighter that says when defeated, create a battle droid token. So this dude is perfect to sack, to do some exploiting, get in a unit, and then leaves another battle droid around to exploit again. It's a really cool common for draft, just with nice synergy with Count Dooku. So like I said, I'm most excited for draft this set, and then I'll transition in Premiere whenever I start doing that. But it's pretty cool.
I think this courier is great because it works both ways. It's something that I could actually see myself giving exploit 1 to, because it is a 2/1 in space. So if I need to, at least giving, like if I have another droid token that's already attacked, and I'll make this, and then next turn I can the next card I play I'll exploit, and I'll use that same Confederate courier to then make my other thing cost less, and then when that dies, get another droid token. So I can see that card can go really well. I want 10 of them in my draft deck, please.
There's lots of cool lines that you can take. This draft format feels a little bit more complex than the other ones were potentially, which is why I'm more looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm curious for Jrod to crap on our Dooku love.
I was about to hop in on it. So I think that this draft format will be interesting a lot because there's a lot more single aspect cards in this set than I feel like the other sets had. So that'll be interesting to be able to put separatists into hero decks and Republic cards into the villain decks and stuff like that. See how those kind of work out. But for Dooku himself, I think he's a phenomenal draft card if the draft format's not super aggressive, which it doesn't feel like it'll be super aggressive because of all like the exploit and that kind of stuff. So I don't think it'll be like super hyper aggressive, and we really haven't seen too many removal spells other than Hello There for this. So we'll see what kind of common removal spells we have. But Dooku for Premier, I think he's just too slow. 7 cost is a lot. Like Jabba, who I think actually has a pretty unique and interesting, mechanic as well, really didn't see a ton of play for Premier. I think Dooku, if he is good, he'll end up being kind of like what Bosk is right now, where Bosk is good right now because like we're in like the bounty meta because it's like 50% of the cards. Where like a good percent of the cards will be separatist cards right now for Dooku that are playable because we still have a limited pool. But as we get more cards involved, a lot of the separatist cards will likely get phased out a bit in just power level because that's how kind of card games work. And then that will make Dooku significantly worse because he fully relies on separatist cards to be good. And if they're not good enough to survive the next couple of releases, then he'll probably fade in popularity. I could definitely see him being good in Premiere for like this current format when we have the 3 sets, but past that,
Right.
I don't think that he'll be able to stand the test of time because of his 7 deploy side and all that. So I mean, he's not bad, but I don't think he's terrible. I just don't think he's as good as some people believe.
It is interesting to note that stat-wise, he is better than Vader.
Yep, he's a
Deploys
5'9".
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't have his on attack is a little different.
Yeah.
Vader's
for
on
sure.
attack being able to deal 2 to anything, that's pretty incredible and speaks to Vader's overall strength.
I am just kind of thinking lore-wise, and I guess like if we're thinking like spoiler, Anakin. There's a connection between Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader, and Anakin Skywalker
Wait,
does right. I don't want to spoil too much, so you'll have to watch to find out.
Anakin kills Dooku.
Anakin kills Dooku. So I'm just that's kind of the jump I'm getting at.
God, holy!
So lore-wise, just to be very clear, when Anakin turns into Darth Vader, also spoiler, and he has all his limbs chopped off, he becomes stronger with the Force, but his like skills with the saber and whatnot are slightly worse. So when you see Vader, like there aren't any Jedi's to really compete with him that have been training their whole lives, right? So like he kind of just crushes everyone because he's like a Jedi and can do all that kind of stuff, or a Force user, I should say. Whereas like when he was fighting Dooku, he was more at his peak performance, we could say, than he was as Darth Vader later on. So I can slightly understand Dooku being stronger than Darth Vader. If we get an Anakin card this set and he is weaker than Dooku, I will be a little disappointed in that, I guess.
I do want to talk about one other thing with the Dooku while we're on the subject.
Mhm.
The Invisible Hand. The 8 cost single villainy aspect 4/7 separatist capital ship that says when played, create 4 battle droid tokens. Now there is not many when plays that spark joy as much as creating 4 battle droid tokens. And then on attack, you can exhaust any number of friendly separatist units and deal 1 damage to the defending player's base for each unit exhausted this way. This is a great enabler for your army of battle droid tokens, of which you just created 4. I don't like, obviously this is going to be in the Dooku deck. This is for the Dooku. Like this is Dooku's, what was the set 2 Moff Gideon ship, his light cruiser or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's like the same kind of shtick, right? But I think this card is pretty cool. I don't know if it's good enough for Premier play. We'll have to see. It's a rare, so you won't get to see it all that often in a limited environment either, but certainly feels like close to a bomb over there if you can get it to go off.
First pickable.
Yeah, very, very much so. So, I mean, it's a pretty cool card that I definitely wanted to shout out because that card is one that sparks most joy for me here out of the recent.
Did you go over the stats? I'm sorry if you did. I missed that.
4/7, yeah, Separatist Capital Ship.
Sure. 8 costs, right?
8 costs, yes, sir. So, like, there was this card, and then there was another card opposite of it, the Tranquility for the heroes, the 7 cost heroism single aspect. That's a 7/6 Republic capital ship. And this one says, when played, you may return a Republic unit from your discard pile to your hand. So it gets back some Republic unit, which is kind of cool. And then on attack, each of the next 3 Republic cards you play this phase costs 1 less. So they're both trying to enable their opposite strategies, right? The Invisible Hand trying to do exploit. This one's trying to give you some coordinate. my initial impression is that the invisible hand does its job better, but this one does cost 7, so that's the thing that gives it a slight bump, perhaps. But you have to do the on attack feels weaker to me than the other ones on attack overall, so it's kind of hard to say.
Well, notably, the invisible hand just works really well with Dooku, who can bring the invisible hand with its Dooku's ability of giving it exploit makes it cost 1 less, or even when
Yeah, you
Dooku's
can bring it out
deployed.
for 6.
Yeah, when Dooku's deployed, you can make it cost 2 if you can have 3 units to sacrifice. But then those 3 units you sacrifice aren't really going to hurt you that bad because you're putting 4 more out there. And then and then the invisible hands on attack is kind of a way to save you resources because, like, obviously tapping
Save
Duke,
you actions.
Savvy action. Sorry, thank you. You're probably not going to use, unless you're going to win the game. You're not going to use that on attack to tap like your Dooku, who's representing 5 power, and you only get 1 power on that damage.
Right, of course.
But it is definitely a good way to use all your droids.
Exactly. To have one giant assault with all your droids loaded up in the invisible hand is what it seems like in my head. But go ahead.
Just to be clear on some rulings here for the invisible hand, all the droids do enter in exhausted.
Correct. Yep.
So if you were to ambush the ship, you would not be able to use those 4 droids created to attack, even though you could order them however you want, and they would be able to enter before you do the attack. Because they're exhausted, you can't then exhaust them to make the attack, just as to be clear on that.
For sure.
I think this is where, like, certain cards are always interesting. Like, when we're looking at it, especially in the limited environment, when you're looking at a card, this card, the Invisible Hand, I think would be amazing in other limited environments, personally. But in this limited environment, your opponent's going to have answers, because we already have 1 card, Heavy, which is going to deal damage to clear out all those droid tokens that you're making. So it's just interesting when you're thinking about limited, that there's going to be a removal that's going to have ways to interact with all the advantage this card's giving you. That's a good thing.
Definitely.
And
a good limited environment should have easy ways for interaction for certain scenarios, right?
Absolutely. And one quick little, I'm on a real lore kick lately about this stuff. So the invisible hand is Grievous's ship, in case you didn't know that.
Okay.
And then Tranquility is Luminara's capital ship, which means we'll likely see her, I would imagine, as a leader in this set. So just a little.
Oh, you think so?
I mean, I didn't think so until you got Tranquility, and I Googled it, and it said Luminara's ship. And I was like, oh, interesting. Because I thought, because like they all look the same, obviously. Like I thought that might have been like Obi-Wan's ship, because he has like a similar one, but it's named differently. I forget the name off the top of my head. But so I thought I was checking to see if that one was his, and it wasn't. So it was Luminara's.
But isn't it on the invisible hand that Anakin and Dooku and Obi-Wan's duel is, where they have the Emperor?
Potentially, I'm not positive, but I don't want to say yes or no because I'm not sure. I'm gonna so.
Put it in the comments below if Faith needs to understand Star Wars lore better, or if it's Jrod that needs to understand the lore better. Are you hashtag Team Faith or hashtag Team Jrod in the comments?
In the comments below. All right, now I do want to talk about the other leader that was revealed, Padme Amidala, the other command common for this set. She's hero, obviously. She's 5 cost. Deploys as a 2/7 with Restore 1. But her leader side says coordinate, take an action, pay 1, exhaust it, and search the top 3 cards of your deck for a Republic card, reveal it, and draw it. So she gives you some card draw if you can activate coordinate. And then on her deploy side, like I said, 2/7, restore 1, and coordinate on attack, search the top 3 cards of your deck for that Republic card, reveal it, and draw it. So she's giving you some card advantage. She's allowing you to refill your hand as you're trying to go wide and activate your coordinate so that you can refill, play more units because they're going to take them out, play more units, activate coordinate, draw more units, etc., etc. Initially, she doesn't feel as good as Dooku, but have to wait and see and actually play with it.
I think first thoughts are definitely comparing Padme to Krennic. Both just because like both deploy at 5, both are 2/7s, both are officials, both have restore. Her restore is restore 1, where Krennic's is restore 2. Her coordinate on attack, being able to search cards is something that Krennic can't do. But Krennic also has the passive, which is always turned on. Yeah, I think my initial thoughts of Padme, and I understand the set is going to help us get coordinate more often. Like currently in just the set 1-2 meta, having 3 units to use that ability is really hard. We're obviously going to make that a little bit easier, but I just don't see you being able to use that coordinate ability on her undeployed side, which also still going to cost you a resource. So like it's going to cost you a resource. You're essentially getting +1 card, but you need to still have those 3 units that are all on the board. I guess I'm comparing it to like in set 1, Cassian, who also can draw you a card for 1 resource. And his condition just seems so much more easy to meet.
I think the one area where this card can shine, and it's one very niche area, but I think it's Twin Sun. Because one, everyone's going to look at her and think she's not that good. So they're not going to feel threatened by your leaders, because it's also an important thing in Twin Suns, is to not have threatening-looking leaders. She has Restore, which is a big keyword in Twin Suns. And she can draw you cards, which is also, I think, pretty important in Twin Suns. The other reason why I think she's okay is because I think Coordinate is going to be significantly easier to keep on in Twin Suns. Most of the games that I've played, people don't typically trade units because they don't have to. Because they're not racing any individual person. So they can just always kind of be hitting the base unless a trade makes a lot of sense for them. Right? So I think keeping things on the board in that format is a lot easier in allowing Coordinate to happen more frequently. So I think you'll see a lot of Coordinate cards popping into Twin Suns deck lists for funsies. And as the competitive player on this podcast, I've said Twin Suns this episode way more than I'd like to admit, but here we are.
Here we are.
Maybe I'm not competitive anymore.
Well, it would kind of be fitting if you're using Padme and you're playing the politics at the table of trying to seem not as threatening. That seems very lore-wise. Quick question for you, going back to Dooku very briefly. In the art of the deployed side, you see a little Geonosis warrior in the background. Do you think we're going to get some... Is that going to be the only picture of Geonosis in this set, or are we going to get some more?
For sure, we're getting at least 1 card to a little flying boy, right? I don't know.
We'll see Pog of the Lesser.
Okay. So some ideas. That's one at least. We have 1 sighting of them at the very least. The card that go.
Oh, I did since we're kind of sort of still on Padme just a little bit. I want to bring up the other rare base that was also spoiled, the green Droid Manufactory, which is a 24 health base. First time we've seen one of those. And it says, when you deploy a leader, create 2 battle droid tokens. Now that obviously activates Coordinate immediately. So, I mean, there's that. But beyond that, like, honestly, this base feels pretty weak to me as the guy that loves creating tokens. Paying 6 to just get 2 when you deploy your leader does not feel that great.
I have a question. Do the bases from set 1 say Epic Action on them?
Correct.
Yeah.
They're all Epic Action, do a thing.
Just to be clear, this one is not an Epic Action.
So in Twin Suns, you can, or if you somehow have a leader that deploys multiple times, ?
Yes.
You can do it more than once, which is just interesting factoid there. Just as to point that out to people, because I actually just realized that now as I was looking at the card. I was like, wait a minute.
It's not an Epic Action, so my initial thought was in Twin Suns that you could use both your leaders to give 4 battle droid tokens overall. Is that worth losing 6 HP in Twin Suns? I don't think so.
But again, people are probably not going to hit you first because you have 24 HP. So it's because you can't just attack one person in Twin Suns because you're probably going to lose. If put it this way, if everyone is attacking the same person in Twin Suns, 2 people are playing it wrong.
Right.
It's just a fact. So, yeah, that's just,
Join us next time on the Twin Suns podcast.
Hey, everyone, we're on the Twin Suns podcast where we Twin Suns are Twin Suns. We Twin Suns.
I am interested, I think there is some world where maybe you droid manufacture factory with Dooku. Like you do getting those tokens, you can use them to exploit 3, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Like on your Separatist card, sorry, they're 2 units for that exploit.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. But then you're playing a 7-cost deploy leader that with the base has 24 HP.
Sure.
True.
And I don't know if that's a great strategy. And it's a bold strategy, Cotton. See if it pays off for him, I guess. But
yeah, so thank you for taking my card, Dudeness. That was definitely the card that I wanted to talk about.
Let's go.
I will say, in the though thinking about decks, I really am glad to have more rare bases, because for me, kind of what made set 2, especially at this point, a little bit more uninteresting is I just feel like, all right, I don't have a ton of options in my leader and base combination, because I've just got the 4 rare ones, and then the 4 bases we got last set are the common bases. I guess the 8 common bases they don't change the game substantially at all. So now, though, as we're getting more rare bases, it's like, now I might want to revisit some set 1 leaders, some set 2 leaders with these different rare bases and see, do these make any sense, or how do they make sense? I think there is a world, though, with this droid factory, how it could be played instead of ECL. I think some decks are going to do that. Not all, not most, but I think there will be 1 or 2 decks which will want it over ECL.
Faith caveated that because he knows going to come in and just kibosh him if he didn't. I'd be like, no, they're playing ECL. What are you talking about? And they still will. This card, you're not going to see it in Premiere. I would be shocked. I would be shocked if we see it in Premiere. That's how I feel about it right now. I don't think it's good enough. Because people are playing a lot of 30-point HP bases and 24 HPs. Only one less 25, but that can matter. I've definitely turned some games around at 1 or 2 HP, so against Sabine, 1 and 2 HP matters a lot. So,
yeah, there was one other card that was spoiled. This Moss Amida card. Did you guys see that card?
No, I didn't. Could you tell me about it?
Oh, I could. And if other people want to get more information on a card, they could watch our video, which was released today, the day we're recording, which is Friday. You guys are watching this Monday. So go back, watch our video. Thank you, FFG. Quickly, Moss Amida is a 2-cost, double green, 0/4 Republic official. And when you play another unit, you may exhaust this unit. If you do, search the top 4 cards of your deck for a unit, reveal it, and draw it. I was really happy. This is a fun card, I think.
It seems pretty cool. I like it.
If you want to find out more, watch the video. Next card.
Yeah.
One card that I was excited to see, for no other reason than who the card was about, is a 5-cost ground unit, Cunning Villainy, 2/8 Underworld Hut. When played, for each opponent, you may exhaust a unit that player controls, and then on attack, for each opponent, you may exhaust a resource that player controls. This is Zero the Hutt. If you don't know who that is, you should go watch the Clone Wars, the animated series, and a couple others. I think had Zero as well, but that's mostly where he's known for. Funny little character. I'm just surprised to see him in here, but that's great because that means we're going to get some niche characters. And honestly, this card seems really bonkers in Twin Suns, and him having an 8 but 2/8 seem to be Hutts, by the way, just to be very clear. It seems like the Hutts have 2/8 stat line, but this one seems to be really good in Twin Suns, and will probably be in Twin Suns decks for a very long time. So
if this man says Twin Suns one more time.
Well, but I'm just at the Twin Suns podcaster now. That's what it's going to be. We're just going to change from the Outmaneuver podcast to the Outman Twin Suns podcast.
Crushed it.
Dude, nailed that, right? Crushed it. I also like, let's see, Rush Clovis is also one that I was a big fan of. Thought he was kind of interesting and cool. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be amazing, but he's a ground unit, 4 costs, Cunning Villainy as well, 3/5 Separatist official, so official matters. Raid 2, so when he attacks, he's a 5/5, pretty important there. And then on attack, if the defending player controls no ready resources, create a battle droid token. I don't think he's insane by any means. Don't get me wrong on that, but I do think that he is a card that, you can kind of try to stall a bit, and then your opponent does a bunch of stuff, and do they want to claim with not using all their resources, or do they want to try to play inefficiently, so they always have one up. Like it's this little like mini game of like, do I want to tap out for my big stuff? Because there are decks that like to just tap out for big stuff and then be like, okay, deal with it. And you're like, Rush Clovis is like, I hit you for 5, make a battle droid token, go. And then it kind of feels bad, you know? Because like if you think about it, if your opponent's like, I'm gonna use my Han 2 ability and play Luke Skywalker, and then okay, I'm gonna tackle my Rush Clovis. I'll hit you for 2, and then I'll make a battle droid token. Like I don't know, it seems pretty good to me. Obviously, having Luke across from you is not great, but
I like that it attacks for 5.
yeah, says the aggro player.
That's not bad, I guess, but I don't know because you have to wait. It's like I don't want to be waiting to attack with my big units.
That's fair.
It's probably not good. His name is Rush Clovis, but you can't really rush about it. You got to take your time. So
Oh, I see what you did there.
I wonder if they did that on purpose.
I'll have to ask them. Honestly, I want to ask them because it seems like in almost every set so far. So set 1, the best card was Darth Vader. Set 2, arguably the best card was Poe Dameron. That's still up for debate a little bit, I think, but that's kind of like where everyone's mind went. But then in the next sets, like set 2 had a Vader replacement at a lower rarity. You had Maul at rare. Easily replaceable in Vader in a lot of different decks, right? If you needed to. Obviously, Vader still has his places and still is better than Maul in many spots, but at least if you needed an ambush at that cost, you could put a Maul in and not feel bad about it.
Right, yep.
Set 2, Poe Dameron. We want Poe Dameron. Now in set 3, we have a starter card, Anakin Skywalker, which is a 5-cost 6/6. It's like, is this intentional from FFG? Are they just honestly like, taking the best card and making a cheaper version that is worse? So like the good card will still be good, but like if you want to play budget friendly and want to play a card that's similar, like here's a pretty reasonable card to fit in that slot. You know what I mean? Like I think it's a cool. If that is the case, I think it's pretty cool, and I hope that when I see them at PAX Unplugged, maybe I'll get the chance to sit down with one of them and ask them that question because I really want to know if that's intentional or not.
I think from a design standpoint, that makes the most sense. Definitely, as you were mentioning, laying out that it does make the game a little bit more accessible, while also keeping the good cards still good by making them different. But as well, like there is numbers on a piece of cardboard. Like you're probably not going to see a 5-cost 10/10 anytime soon that with no downside. So like you're going to have the general power levels unless
no,
that's where like Cam being a 5/7 for 5, like the numbers are similar, but it is more of a blue. Like a 5/7 stat line is more blue, where like a 7/5 or a 6/6 is definitely more red. So those make sense. So I think that those all make sense in that sphere.
Yeah. Well, I think there wasn't like a 5-cost Trandoshan in the last set that was like a 6/4 or something like that. That had someone had a bounty.
Yep, it got an experience counter, so it became a 7/5.
Yeah, so like that's pretty much the same on the same par as Cam with if they have a bounty, of course. But
yeah, in the red equivalent, and that was an uncommon as opposed to Cam being a legendary.
That was common.
Yeah.
It was common. Sorry,
common.
Yeah, for the bounty synergy. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. What do you think? So it's one thing, comparing different costs and cards. What do we think about the feel of Separatist Republic getting some of those ideas, hero villainy in this set versus set 2 and set 1? So, like, is there a way that you think, are you able to, like, we did find on the most recent villain stream, and they kind of talked to us a little bit before, is that in this set in particular, the coordinate ability is a heroism ability, mostly, and exploit is more of a villainy ability. And so we didn't really have that in set 1, where there was all the keywords were on both sides.
No, I actually think it was exclusively. All the coordinate is going to appear on heroism, and all exploit is going to appear on villainy.
Or there's some like aspect list cards which have them.
Well, the not hero or villain.
Yes, thank you. The non-aligned.
I guess Gore has exploit, and he's neutral.
Yeah, and Cam has coordinate.
So does infantry, the 212.
Yeah. So you're going to see, but you're not going to see villainy cards. We haven't seen any, I don't think yet, with coordinate, and you're not going to see heroes and cards with exploit.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. Like, it's, I don't think heroism really wants to exploit their friends to move forward. So it definitely seems like more of a villainy keyword. So I get that. And coordinate is like, let's work together. It's not really a villainy, keyword there. So that makes sense to me, which I think all the sets have kind of made sense in that aspect as well. No pun intended there. But yeah, I'm a fan. I mean, this set, I can't wait for it. I mean, I've been a Clone Wars fan my whole life. So like, it's my favorite era, and I'm just a big nerd. And I was like, should I get 3 cases? I'm not. I'm gonna get 2, but I was like, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think like the there is some overlap, I think, with the Rebel strategy and with a little bit I'm seeing of this droids strategy. I mean, it's different, and I found it interesting the switch where like in set 1, heroes were kind of the go wide, smaller, and Imperials were go more tall. Where in this set you're seeing the kind of Republic is a little bit more taller, not a ton taller, but a little bit taller. And the droids are definitely the go wide strategy. So, and the villains in that side. So it is interesting that switch. But like you are seeing, I guess, some cards like Leia as the leader, for instance, who would help you attack with multiple units, similar to the green ship that we got, which also is gonna like let you attack with a droid and then attack with another droid as an action. Like that's a similar ability to Leia. So I guess we're just seeing. I mean, of course, like this isn't a bad thing. This is how games work. It's you're taking these common ideas and how do you fit them in the world.
Yeah, actually, dude. Speaking of that ship, like, how do you feel about Leia being on a card now, but for Separatists?
I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, is that a card you're gonna try to play first? Is that like your first card you want to jump into right now? From what we know right now.
I mean,
if
I could make it work, yeah.
The card question is a 3-cost villainy command, Magna Guard Wing Leader, which is a Separatist vehicle fighter, 3/4. As an action, attack with a droid unit, then attack with another droid unit. Use this ability only once each round.
And it's very important to note that is an action, not an exhaust ability. So you can play this boy and then smack that action and attack with 2 droids.
And this is not a unique card as well, so you could have multiple of them.
Oh God!
And but it's pretty cool because it's action efficiency. Everyone loves action efficiency. One of the things that makes a Rebel aggro good is because you have the other fleet lieutenant for some more action efficiency, right? You play a unit, you get some action efficiency, you attack with the thing, being able to attack with 2 things. Now, it is important to note you cannot use this ability to attack with itself because for whatever strange reason, this is not a droid, even though there are other Separatist vehicle space units that are droids. This was a clear, obvious omission because they maybe felt that was too strong.
Mm-hmm.
But
I would imagine that's the case because that card would be really good if it was.
Just an interesting interaction with it is if you use Vader, you can grab this. It doesn't actually exhaust this card by just even using Vader, getting this. If you have droids, you can then use the action as your next action to attack with the multiple droids. So that's just kind of an interesting connection.
I haven't even been paying attention to Vader pulls in the set, and that's so sad by me because that's there's so many.
Hold on, since we're on the subject of Vader pulls, there's another 3-cost common command villainy droid commando, 4/3 Separatist droid trooper, and while you control this unit gains ambush. So that feels like a great Vader pull, assuming you have another Separatist unit obviously to give the ambush. But a 4/3 ambush in addition to the 5/7 ambush, sign me up, boys.
Vader's gonna be a problem. I mean, I've said since day one that Vader only gets better with time.
Yeah, and this card for sure is gonna slap. And this card being common, this card is gonna slap in draft and seal, dude.
Yeah.
Pull Dooku at your pre-release and a couple of droid commandos, and maybe if you're lucky, the invisible hand, and boy, you got a deck burn.
I'll just be playing Ahsoka and Rex, if I'm being honest.
I'm really looking forward to that pre-release more and more as these cards come out. Because a lot of the common cards seem fun to play with.
I think I'm going to take PTO the week of the pre-release so that way I don't have to travel anywhere. So I can
Nice.
just I'm not going to actually, but I probably maybe on
You
Friday.
might. Maybe.
Well, we are about a month and a half away from the pre-release, maybe a little bit longer than that, touch longer than that, but something very
7
exciting.
weeks.
Something
Pretty
very
pog.
exciting to look forward to. Yes. And so we have almost a quarter of the set spoiled. So we still got a lot more to go. So please keep coming up, keep watching. We're going to talk about all the cards. We're going to have more videos coming for you soon. We're going to break down more of this set. We're really excited for this set. And so keep joining us on this journey. We look forward to seeing you next time on Outmaneuver.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye.